Hello everyone, this is Mumbo here, welcome back, and today we're back on the Hermitcraft server. It is episode 26, and we're currently over here down at the bottom of the gigantic mob spawner, ready to start recording another video. And I've got to tell you, ladies and gents, I'm pretty excited about today's video, because we're going to be doing some finishing up. That is right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be finishing the entire project. In today's episode, we have been working on this over the past few episodes now. We built the gigantic mob spawner, then we did all the storage area, and then finally, in the previous episode, we built this humongous, extremely tall elevator. This thing stands at 170 blocks tall, and of course, if you haven't seen that video, I will try to remember to put a link to that down in the description, because it really was a good one. It was a fun project to work on, and I'm pretty happy that we actually managed to get the entire thing done. But in today's episode, we're going to be doing all of the finishing up, all of the tiny little details that still need to be done around here. So that means that we aren't going to be working on anything particularly massive. We're just going to be doing a large quantity of odd jobs. So it should be fairly exciting. We're going to be changing things up. It's going to be a pretty mix and match episode with some technical bits and a little bit of building as well. So yeah, should be good fun. One thing that I have just realised I haven't shown you guys in the video yet is the fact that we have officially got a little train station. This is known as Jumbo Junction. We built it in a live stream the other day, and it's quite nice. It's a sweet little junction. I think it's cool. It's a nice place to be because, of course, our original idea was we were going to have the minecart leaving from the secret Redstone laboratory, but sadly, that just didn't work, did it? I mean, seriously, we had it in a secret Redstone laboratory. It meant that none of the hermits could ever find my base. I was always getting questions about it because, of course, you had to go into the Redstone consultancy. Then you had to place down that torch key. That would open up the secret staircase. Then you'd go down into the laboratory and you'd finally be able to get onto the minecart track. It was a very long-winded process, so I thought instead we will build this little train station. By the look of things, something has been damaged here and I've replaced it with a temporary block. But as far as the actual build itself is concerned, it's a nice little thing. It's not particularly fancy, there's nothing too good going on. It was based off a rural train station that you get in England. It's just a sweet little place, and this is how you access the Great Rail to get to my new base. Alright, let's get down to business. We're going to start working on some of the things that I have planned for today's episode, and the first project that we're going to be working on could be considered to be just a little bit ambitious. This is something that I've never done before. I haven't built this previously in a Redstone testing world, which is always a recipe for a bad time. I've done that a few times in the past, and it's never worked out well for me, so I'm not 100% certain if this is going to work. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I have a pretty good idea of how we're going to do it, and I have a feeling that it is going to work absolutely fine. So as you guys know, I have recently modified this design to allow for multi-floor functionality. I did that in a recent Redstone video, and if you haven't seen that, I would highly suggest checking it out because it's a cool idea. And not only that, I also show you how to build this elevator itself, so if you did want to build it, that's the place to go. But basically, in that video, that elevator had around about 8 floors, I do believe, which is quite a lot, okay? We don't need 8 floors for this design. We aren't going to be doing all of those. Instead, we're going to be having a 2-floor design. I want the ability to be able to stop off at the mob spawner itself to do a little bit of maintenance, fix things up that might be broken, or do a little bit of timing, changing, you know, experiment around. So I think it would be nice to have a little floor that we can stop off at by flicking a lever or doing something with a button. Now, in my head, this will work perfectly, but like I say, haven't tried this out before, so I'm going to start placing down some redstone, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so I have reached the desired level. My pickaxe is running out, and I've actually run out of stone half slabs, which means that the last few blocks have had to be made out of iron, and I'll change that in a couple of seconds. But now it is time to wire all of this up. Now, like I say, we're going to be doing this out of iron blocks for the minute, but of course, this is going to be the platform area. This is going to allow us to do all of the maintenance. So our redstone has to run it around like this, out to the side just like that, which means we're going to need a repeater here. Then we will need all of the redstone to connect to our sticky piston that is going to retract this block right here, which will stop this piston extending, meaning that we won't be launched upwards in our minecart. So if we just chuck that sticky piston down, that is that one now done. That should be complete, so now we just have to create the floor area, which means that we need to place a regular block there. We are going to need an immovable object, which luckily I have a few in there. I'm going to try my best not to be shot off by some form of skeleton here, because that would end very badly indeed. Obviously, this is quite a hostile environment. We have got mobs falling down. There is a skeleton. Thankfully, I'm out of range there. But I'll quickly create a floor area, and then I will pop down to the bottom and we'll give it a test. So here we are on the minecart elevator. We are on our way up. Now I have selected the maintenance only mode, so we should make it up there. I am still taking damage though. I really don't understand where that comes from. I don't know what that's all about, but clearly it's a bit of a problem with servers or something. But anyway, let's see. Yes, it worked. It worked. Look, we have made it only up to the maintenance area. We haven't gone right the way up to the top, which is perfect. How good is that? We've actually got a little bit of multi-floor functionality on our piston elevator. Now I've got to clean up some of the redstone as well as all of the pillars that I've got here, and that means I've got to fix up my pickaxe. Although what I am considering doing a new enchantment. I'm getting bored of this one. So I just did one enchantment and I managed to get myself a Silk Touch 1 pickaxe that I've put inside this dropper right here. It's not good, it's not brilliant, but you know what, Silk Touch is always a good thing, and with my Silk Touch running so low right now, the chances are I might one day forget to actually repair that thing, and it might end up breaking down, so that would be pretty useful in the future. But anyway, I'm going to be doing another diamond pickaxe enchantment here, so we'll chuck those sticks in like that, we'll craft up the diamond pickaxe, and then we've got some lapis as well. Let's hop up here, grab the enchanting table, chuck the lapis in on that side, and then the pickaxe in on there. Unbreaking 3, oh, are we going to take the risk? I'm going to say yes, we've taken the risk, and we have got an awful pickaxe. How terrible is that? I don't even know what to say. That can just go straight down the hole. I don't want that anymore. I've decided to use the remainder of my levels a little bit more sensibly here. I mean, it seemed a little bit silly to keep doing enchantments that clearly weren't working for me because we got two awful ones there, and you know what? There's no such thing as third time lucky. I was just hopping about the landscape around the outside of the mob spawner here, and I looked over at the elevator, and as you know, I used iron supports to get up when I was placing down all of the redstone torches to do our whole switching mechanism for the second floor. And you know what? I was originally going to take them down, that is why I brought all these pickaxes along, but I actually think it looks quite good, if not a little bit better than it did beforehand. I might add another one in. I might make that the official look. Add a support beam on either side, because that looks 10 times better than it did before. I'm going to crack on with that. Just like that, both sides now have the full support beams going right the way from the bottom all the way up to the top, which I actually think really has made the difference. It looks absolutely awesome. It's such a cool, meaty looking structure now. Beforehand, there was definitely something missing, and I feel like we've done a pretty decent job at putting that in, because now it officially looks like a proper elevator. It looks like the sort of elevator that you get inside of buildings and things, which gives a massive thumbs up from me, because I like things looking like they do in real life, if you get what I mean from that one. But there are a few other odd jobs to do, of course. Like I say, this is going to be a bit of a mix and match episode. We need to take out this big ladder from the front. We no longer need that. We don't have to get to all of the various different sections. That was simply for the building process, so we're going to remove that, and that should really improve the look of this thing, if not make it look a little bit strange, because of course we've got this floating platform, so we might need to sort that out at some point. All of the ladders are gone, and I can confirm the build now looks very, very strange indeed. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about builds in Minecraft, but I always feel like they have to look like they're obeying the laws of gravity, even if they're not. And this is definitely a case of that. That does not look like it could be supported by this, okay? For some reason, the mob spawner looks okay, and I think that's just because it's a bigger and chunkier build. It looks like it's a lot more solid, and it looks like it would stay up there. But for some reason, this thing here, it just doesn't look quite right. So we're going to have to do something out the front here. We're going to have to add something in. I'm considering putting the ladders back in up to this point, which would be a pretty good thing, because it means that we can get up there, do a little bit of maintenance on that side of things as well. But I don't know, I'll have to have a think about that one, and then I'll start placing down some blocks, and we'll see what I can come up with. I replaced all of the ladders up to this point, and you know what? I would actually say it made it look a little bit worse. So it was definitely an improvement removing all of those, but now I'm trying to work out what I can do to make this front part look a little bit better, and I think I've come up with a bit of a wild idea that might actually end up working. So you see these signs here? They are actually stopping the water from flowing down. Now, here's the deal. What I thought we could do is we could actually remove those signs so that the water flows down and lands down at the bottom in the water streams themselves. Now, one thing that I hadn't really thought about is how difficult it would be to place this water down. But anyway, let's just head up here. We will take out this sign and watch the water flow down. Hopefully it doesn't spread out. It's just a single line that drops right the way down to the bottom. Looks pretty good to me. And then if we take out this side as well, that sign's now gone. Hopefully they don't connect up or do anything strange. You know what it's like. This is Minecraft. You never really know what to expect. But in theory, that should work. Let's try and make sure that we don't fall down and die. Right, I'll take out all these blocks. and we'll see what it looks like from the bottom. Well, you know what, ladies and gents, I'm pretty happy with that. We've lit up the water, that now looks a lot better than it did beforehand, and the whole build itself has come together fairly nicely, so I think it's around about time that we move on from this project and we start work on a new thing. Now, I do apologise that the beginning half of this episode has definitely been very back and forth, flitting between projects, mix and matching, and I know that doesn't make for particularly interesting episodes, but we are now going to be working on something solidly for the end of this episode, and that is the bottom section. A lot of you have noticed that this area here is floating, and that is because I was making way for the downstairs area that we are going to be building. There's going to be a temporary base of operations where I'm going to have a mini storage area. I'm going to have my crafting systems, furnace arrays, and all that sort of stuff. It's all going to be going down underneath here before we move into Mumbo Mountain, or whatever we're going to be calling that place. So here is the plan. For anyone who has been watching Hermitcraft for a very long time indeed, you may remember Biffa's Bowl from Hermitcraft Series 1. Well, I am pleased to inform you that we aren't going to be building that one. That was a huge project, and I still can't believe that you managed to do it, but we aren't going to be doing that. Instead, we're going to be doing something similar, involving a big circle, then we are going to clear out the water from the inside, and that is going to be our temporary base area. Now, the diameter of the circle is 46 blocks, giving a radius of 23, which means that this circle is pretty big, but coincidentally, that is actually the size of our mob spawner. So that is from end to end at the mob spawner. That is how big we're going to be building this thing. The circle will come out like this. Then, like I say, we'll clear out all of the water from the inside, and we will be left with a nice area in which we can place all our things, have a few bits of temporary storage, and do all of the various bits that we want to do. It's going to be a relatively large project, and I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get done in today's episode, but it should be fun to work on. Well, I gotta say, that is the first time ever that I've built a circle in Minecraft that has gone absolutely perfectly. I didn't make any mistakes whatsoever. One thing that I am a little bit concerned about, though, is that I just made a bit of a realization that has sort of thrown my plan off a little bit. I'm sure I can come up with a perfectly good solution, but for right now, I am completely stumped. My original idea was I was going to have a mini biome on the inside of the circle. So we were going to have the glass walls, then we would have all the grass, we would have trees, it would all look lovely, and it would be very nice indeed. That's when I remembered that we are once again in a swamp biome. Grass is ugly, trees are ugly, everything is ugly in a swamp biome, and it's thrown me off. It's thrown me. I have no idea what I'm going to do now. I was so excited for that idea, so I might have to ask you guys for suggestions. Who knows? Who knows if I'll be able to get anything done on the interior of the circle today. I might come up with a new plan by the end of this episode, but for right now, I am completely stuck, so I do need your help. Could you please let me know what you think I should build on the inside of the circle? Because I'm sure you can come up with some awesome ideas. We've got plenty of space here, we've got loads of space to play with, and like I say, you guys are much better at this sort of stuff than I am, so let me know. So I'm just in the process of placing all of the glass around our circle here. It is all going in underneath the waves. Yes, we are underneath the water right now. I decided to do this first, then we are going to place in the floor, and then we are going to grab ourselves some sponges, and we are going to clear out the water. I always forget the sponges can now be achieved in vanilla Minecraft. It used to be that they were creative mode only, and that meant that if you wanted to clear out water, you would have to use sand or just fill in the whole area with blocks, then mine them all out. That's got a lot easier now, so that should mean that this project should actually be done relatively quickly. I say that with my fingers crossed, because you know how it is with Minecraft, sometimes even the simplest things take a very long time indeed. I've actually had just a little bit of a change of plan. It was really easy to place down all of the glass thanks to my depth strider boots, which means that I place all the glass down to the bottom of the lake bed, because as you can see, I mean, this certainly isn't the deepest thing in the world, and it was very easy to do indeed, which means that we actually have a watertight circle now. There is no water coming in from the outside. That Enderman, what just happened there? He's doing something very peculiar right now, but we'll leave him be. We'll let him do his thing, because that was pretty strange right there. But as I was saying, yeah, the circle is completely watertight, which means that no water can come in, which means that we can actually drain out the entire area without having to place in the floor. So I'm going to get down to business, start chucking down some sponges, but before we do that, of course we have to go and get them, and thankfully XPcrafted has come to the rescue and said that we can borrow some. So thanks to him. As always, I'm completely blown away by the sheer size and scale of XPcrafted's base. It's probably one of the most impressive bases on the Hermitcraft server. In fact, it's so big that he gave me a rough location for where the sponge was meant to be, and then I spent around about 10 minutes looking for it to no avail, so I had to draft him in. He hopped onto the server and showed me where they were. But yeah, it is seriously an incredibly impressive space. And you know what I've just noticed? What on earth is that thing over there? He's got another underwater area that looks absolutely huge. I'm going to have to go check that out at some point. The sponges have made it back over to the mob spawner area, and you know what? I feel like time-lapse in this one. I haven't done a time-lapse for the entirety of this episode, so we're going to be doing a third-person time-lapse of me doing the sponging. Should be interesting, so let's crack on. I definitely get the impression that I am going about this the wrong way. This is just not making any progress in the slightest. I mean, there I was thinking that using sponges would be so much easier than the traditional technique, but actually it's just provided a headache for me. I have no idea how these things work, okay? I understand the water mechanics in the game, and I understand how to get rid of water. You just have to clear out all of the source blocks and then it will sort itself out. I don't understand sponges. And I am considering using a different technique. What I could do is I could split this area up into smaller little subsections by creating walls going right the way across. Maybe quarters, maybe even smaller than quarters. I have no idea what I'm doing though. I seriously don't have any clue what I'm doing. So I'm going to be labeling that previous time lapse the fail lapse or the fail-tage. Who knows? Because that was an absolute mess. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear up all of these sponge blocks, I'll chuck them into my furnaces, and then yeah, I'll try out this new quadrant technique. That should work a little bit better. Yep, this definitely seems like the way to do it. I have now just cleared out this entire area using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sponges. Now, albeit it wasn't the deepest area in the world, but I can imagine that the same rules roughly apply for everything else, because yes, we stop any water from coming down there, and then we can place a sponge block over here, sponge block over here, place one down at the bottom here, and that will take out a lot of the stuff in the middle, and then you end up with little messy bits. You can take out that area, take out that area, then you put one on the floor, and that will take out pretty much the entire floor area. So yeah, it's a systematic way of working around, because then you can place one there, that will take out a lot of that area. Yeah, this seems to be the way to do it. I mean, it's not exactly easy. I have to say, it's nowhere near as easy as I originally thought it was going to be. As you can see, we're still making a pretty big mess over here. This requires a lot more sponge blocks, but there we go. That pretty much is the entire thing cleared out. That's one done. So yes, this seems to be the way of doing things. I mean, it's much easier than what I was doing beforehand, which was just placing all of the sponge blocks everywhere and hoping that the water disappeared. So yeah, this seems much simpler, but like I say, it's still not particularly easy. So all of the water is now cleared from this full side of our big circle. How good does that look? That actually looks fairly cleared out. We have managed to get all of the water gone from this side, and as I was saying earlier, you know, it wasn't a quick process in the slightest. It's one of those things that for some reason I was expecting it to be a lot easier than it actually was. I've never used sponges before, I didn't know about the techniques. This way of splitting up the area into slightly smaller chunks definitely works much better than the one that I did originally, because originally I was just placing them everywhere trying to clear out the water, and it was just coming back in and it wasn't working in the slightest. You know what, I was convinced the sponges were broken. When I started doing that, I was like, there is no way that XPcrafted has managed to build his entire base underwater using these water mechanics, but I think I've worked out how to do them effectively, and it seems to be working fairly nicely. So I'm going to get rid of all of this iron here, as well as all of the excess sponges that we have on this left hand side, and then I'll catch you guys in a bit. This side has been cleared of all of the iron and all of the sponges, and this side has been split up into the various sections so that we can get down to business, chuck down all of the sponges, and clear out all of this water. Now, we aren't going to be doing progress updates this time, we are going to be doing a time lapse once again. Hopefully this one is a little bit more successful than the previous one, although I can't promise anything, so fingers crossed it all goes well and we can get all of this done in today's episode. Well, would you look at that? We have managed to get the entire thing cleared out. Would you look at this? That is such a cool sight to see. We have got all of the water gone. It is all completely gone. We are now left with just the open space that we are going to use to play around with. I still have no idea what I'm going to be putting in here, but that is a job for a future episode. Now, for the minute, I'm just clearing out the middle section, but I cannot believe that I've actually managed to get this done in today's episode. My original plan for the episode was do the odd jobs and then do the outline area for the base, and that was around about it. I wasn't even expecting to get any of the glass in. I wasn't expecting to get any of that stuff in. But what we've managed to do is actually complete the entire project. I don't know what it is, but recently I've been in a really big Minecrafty mood, as you may have noticed in my previous episodes, but especially today. I woke up this morning, obviously I went to college, came home, and I went, yes, it is Minecrafting time. I've been sat here for a very, very long time indeed. My bum is getting just a little bit on the numb side, and generally that's a sign that I've been here for a while. But I'm so happy that I've managed to get all of this done. I've got a beaming smile on my face. The project is complete. What started off as a mix and match all over the place episode has actually turned out to be a pretty good one. But anyway, I'm going to keep clearing out this area, and then I'll catch you guys in a bit. I thought I would sign off this video from an aerial perspective just so you can see the space that we've created, how much area we have taken out, because you know what? I'm actually relatively proud of myself for this episode. It's probably been, once again, the longest I've spent on an episode for a very, very long time indeed, and I seem to be saying that from consecutive episodes, and that just goes to show how much I'm enjoying Hermitcraft in the minute, and you guys are really enjoying it as well. So I really, really do hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like button, and if you really loved it, then make sure to subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys. This has been Mumbo, and I'm out. I'll see you later.